Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
If you excuse me, I'm just going to lower my mask so that my voice will come through a little clearer. I've been asked to remind you that according to the notification that went out, masks are requested. If anybody would like a mask, my understanding is that there are some over here if you'd like to have one. The purpose of this meeting is to go over the proposed warnings that take place, and we'll be voting on most of the issues tomorrow. But the general procedure here is that it is my responsibility to read the different articles, and if there are questions or concerns that any of the members of this community wish to address, this is the time to do it. I ask that if you are not a member of the community, if you do not live in Pownal, that you identify yourself as such, and you can speak with the permission of the assembled people here. So I think we can begin. The first two articles we vote on here, and the remaining articles will be voted on tomorrow in Australian ballot. The first article, to hear reports of the town officials and take action thereon. I just need a motion, please, somebody. Have a second? Second. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Article 2, to see if the voters will authorize the treasurer to receive taxes until they become delinquent. And once again, a motion. Very good. A second? Second. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Once again, I will go through the different articles that we have. If you have comments or would like to comment on them, please raise your hand, and then if you would come forward so that we can all hear you, identify yourself, and you can use one of the microphones. I assume that they are on and working. Article 3, the election of all officers required by law. 4, shall the town provide notice of the availability of the annual report by postcard mailed to all registered voters at least 30 days before the annual meeting, instead of mailing or otherwise distributing the report to the voters of the town pursuant to 24 VSA 1680A. 5, shall the town authorize 50...
It's, just for correction, it's 1682.
Okay, sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
Shall the town authorize $50,000 from the general fund of fiscal year 21 undesignated surplus to be applied to the municipal office fund for the construction of the town office?
I wonder if you should read from this, because that should be 100,000.
Okay,
Oh, do you want to read from this?
Yeah, right. It's been pointed out to me that there must have been a typographical error in the notice that was presented to me. When the difference there is that the sum was not, was it $50,000? $50,000, but it should be $100,000. Would anybody like me to reread that?
Yes, please.
All right. Shall the town authorize $100,000 from the general fund, fiscal year 21, designated surplus to be applied to the municipal office fund for the construction of the town office? Yes, sir. Ma'am, sorry. I got my glasses on, I can't see.
I'm still female as far as I know.
If you just would like over, introduce yourself to the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenny Dewar. I'm delighted that the new town office is almost finished, but any further funding is eligible for ARPA funding and has been all along. The general fund undesignated surplus is still our tax money, I would prefer to see it offset our tax burden. The budget also includes lines to go towards the new building. I'm not surprised that it is 30% more than we originally voted in 2019, given that the town voted under the false impression that permits were in place and that prices skyrocketed as a result of COVID. But that said, let the COVID relief funds pay for it rather than us taxpayers taking the hit. The only way to send the select board back to the table to try again is if this article in the budget don't pass. Therefore, I urge you voters to vote no to the budget and that's ballot article number 9, and vote no to any more tax money going towards the new town offices. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak to that article? Thank you. We go on to Article 6 then. Shall the town authorize the elimination of the office of town auditor with future audits to be provided by the public accountant licensed in this state in accordance with 17 VSA 2651BA. Article 7. Was there a, yes. I'm sorry, I missed you. Come on up.
On January 5th, the town of Pownal...
If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
I'm Donna Lozon. On January 5th, the town of Pownal heard from findings from Joshua Bills of the Bonadino Group. Josh is a certified fraud examiner. The quote fraud in question surrounded not items in the general ledger or expenditures. It was about one town official and her contributions to her own retirement. The accusation of fraud came about not after consultation with the treasurer or the board and their supposed findings, but seemingly after these two individuals, a former select board member and an internal auditor, went to the state police. That's right, the state police. The Bonadino Group, who are actual experts, concluded that there was no fraud. In fact, the only issues were procedural and system issues since rectified with NEMRIC. Bonadino confirmed everything the treasurer did was accurate and she was in compliance. Perhaps if we had individuals who knew about municipal accounting and/or with no personal vendetta, this terrible and costly forensic audit could have been avoided. And when I say costly, I mean a bill to the taxpayers of about $100,000, which to the average person is more important than font sizes on a town report. There was a second cost to this debacle as well, the emotional cost put upon our treasurer of 32 years. It is shameful that those involved not only remain silent to this day, but likely have never apologized to Ellen, who after being accused and humiliated, still shows up to work every day. That's integrity. If this situation is what more eyes on the books creates, there's no way in hell I could vote for that. I encourage everyone to vote yes and let professionals be the ones overseeing the accounting. Ellen, I know I speak for many when I say we are saddened and angry at what you went through and hope you know you are appreciated and respected in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Jenny Dewar again. I did not prepare this, but I want to say I'm really, really glad that Ellen got her say, and we all appreciate Ellen. The forensic audit was decided to be embarked upon by the select board, not the auditors. They brought information to the select board. The select board unanimously chose to go forward with this audit rather than doing their own due diligence to figure out what the real story was. As a result of that, we have a very costly and very necessary system in place that the select board has opted to go through with NEMRIC. So I thank you all for following through on that. It is costly to us, like I said. I think the forensic audit was likely not necessary. I'm sorry the select board, two of whom are still on it, voted to do that instead of figuring out what was going on. The auditors do much more than just check the books. The auditors that were in place are accountants and bookkeepers and certainly know about accounting. If we had auditors in place, part of their job is to do the town report, and that job should not fall upon one staff member in our town office who was not prepared to do so, of no fault of her own. So I urge you to vote no to Article 6 and have the auditors and the select board can guide them with what their responsibilities will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Article 7, shall the voters prohibit the town constable from exercising any law enforcement authority in accordance with 24 VSA 1936 AA? 8. Does anybody like to speak to that? Did you, Jeff?
I don't understand that. Which one? I can explain it. Is it the constable?
Yes.
Constable? Okay.
Announce who you are.
What?
You gotta tell us who you are.
Just introduce yourself, please.
Rebecca Dragon. Here's the deal with the
You want to
constable.
introduce yourself, please?
Rebecca Dragon.
Thank you.
The deal with the constable is, in Vermont, the role of a constable is still a statutory requirement for all Vermont towns. It must be on every single ballot. Most Vermont towns have decided to, instead of using an elected constable for their law enforcement, they have gone into contract with their sheriff department. That's exactly what the town of Pownal has done. We've been in contract with our sheriff's department for quite some time. And so what a lot of Vermont towns are doing, what the legislature has allowed us to do, is to remove the law enforcement capacity from the role of constable and instead make it an administrative position only, so they would have rights of service. But it would no more be about, we need to get him a firearm, a squad car, make sure they have the right to, you know, it prevents us, our town, from having to take on the cost of creating a police department, essentially. So that's what it does. If you're voting to remove those powers, it would be more of a ceremonial and administrative position, again, bringing service, serving people legal papers, things like that. So any other questions on that? Okay.
Move on then. Shall the voters authorize the elimination of the office of town lister in accordance with 17 VSA 2651CB1 and replace it with professionally qualified assessors who shall have the same powers, discharge the same duties, proceed in the discharge thereof, and the same manner, and be subject to same liabilities as prescribed by the listers or the Board of Listers under provision Title 32.
I'd like to speak to that.
Yeah.
Rebecca Dragon. I'm speaking to this one again. I don't know how many people know this, but it was our listers that requested to have that ballot article placed on the ballot. So this was not a select board decision to place this on. The listers themselves wrote a letter explaining that they felt that this job should be handled by an outside professional, contracted in. It's a job that takes over 3 years to learn, and I'm just passing on what the listers requested. So that ballot article is from them. Yes?
So what happens to the current listers?
The position's gone. It would be 45 days, I believe, and you'd hire a professional assessor who would do all the work of the listers.
Any further questions? If not, we can go on to 9. Shall the voters appropriate $1,300,913 for the general expenses of the town, of which $783,581.37 is to be raised by taxes, and $1,117,483.63 from prior years' undesignated surplus funds.
Check your math again, because that's not what I have, what you just read. I have 167,483, You have 187.
187.
Can one of you guys on the select board clarify that, because that report is different than what I have. I have the 167, 483.63.
I think Article 5 is also.
Excuse me, Jim, would you like to come up? Do you have something to say to that?
That's the same one that was corrected, that it was 100,000.
Well, I didn't catch it before, but I did watch the...
Just introduce yourself, Jim.
Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road. Hello, guys. I did watch the meeting where the warning was signed, and I guess I'm a little confused here because Article 5 says authorize $100,000 to the general fund, but I remember specifically that night that Mike said that ARPA funds could then be used to take care of the overspending, 200,000 plus or minus whatever, of the town hall. It was at that point that a vote was taken, and Jamie said, I prefer to still have 50,000 go against the town hall, even though ARPA could pay for the whole thing. So we're at the point here of Article 5 being $100,000 in this report, but I think at the meeting it was voted to drop it down to 50,000, and I'm not sure where the warrant ended up. But in reference to Article number 9, where they do say that 117 will be designated or come from the undesignated funds, if you look on page 34, the budget is showing from undesignated funds 167,000. So there's a little confusion in this on what people are voting on this, and it may have been a rational, fast decision being made that night, and I guess I'm just concerned which numbers are correct. The second thing that I just want to add to this is, in the budget, I see that we have funds coming from designated funds to offset the taxes. I'm confused on why monies are coming from our undesignated funds to offset a general budget without any explanation. I'm assuming they may have been put in there to help offset the spending of the town overspending. We need a town hall. We all are granted that we need a town hall. We know it's going to cost more money, but there has to be a little more openness on what it's costing us, where the money's going, and where the money's coming from. And that's all I ask. I'm not here to complain. I'm here to just point out numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that it's difficult to put all the numbers together, particularly when there has been so much activity in different funds to cover different expenses. And if it's agreeable to the select board, I would wait to give an answer to some of those questions until we can get a more detailed explanation from somebody who fully understands those numbers, rather than say something that may not be accurate. Would you agree with that, select board?
That's what he was reading.
That's right.
Or do you want to
This is
answer it
wrong.
now?
Hold on 1 minute, Tim. His sheet is wrong.
Just 1 minute, please.
This is wrong. Which makes this.
First of all, before you speak, you're supposed to say who you are.
Yeah, well,
This would be
just
167.
Everybody
We
out.
took-
Just wait, we have one minute.
Let us
Megan,
finish.
just,
Hang on just a second. Maybe this was correct or wrong. Hang on. Right here. So
Bear with us for a couple minutes.
this had the 50 here, and then what was the other article?
9.
And then Article 9
That's correct.
came 167.
The corrected didn't get in the book.
This is the corrected,
This
so
is the
this is the
corrected.
corrected version. The book is not. Okay.
That's all right. It's,
So,
just, it's not
Tim,
a
I
big...
think you're going to have to read Article 5 again from here, and I'll take the book away from you. Read Article 5 again from here, and that was actually, well, I'm being told that that's the correct number.
okay.
And then Article 9 will have to be read again, because that also changes this to 167. It looks like this one.
Okay. Excuse me. It's been explained to me that there are other figures that are more accurate. And I've been told that the figures that I have here in front of me, rather than the figures that you have in the town booklet, are correct. On the ballot, just 1 minute. I want to be sure that I answered these questions correctly. Can a member of the select board answer that question for me?
I haven't seen a ballot, to be honest with you, so I don't know what is
Just
on
1
the ballot.
minute. Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute till we answer this one question first, okay? I want to be sure that we have the right numbers here. Does anybody know what's on the ballot?
50,000 on the ballot.
Excuse me?
We voted on it. It's supposed to be 50,000 on the ballot.
Right.
So the number should be 50,000, it will be on the ballot.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah, so
Yes?
right now, I think,
Can you go to our website?
I
and
can.
See what our ballot says on our website?
What we're going to do is look it up on the website to see what numbers are on the ballot. And then we will incorporate those numbers in the reading of the different articles. They would be Article 5 and Article 9. Yes?
Yeah, it's there on the website. It is.
Jim is correct on that.
Just 1 minute, please.
Shall I read it?
Yes.
Just go ahead.
Shall I read it? Okay. Shall the town,
Which article is this,
Article
Rebecca?
5.
Okay.
Which is what I thought when you read it.
Yep.
It is 50,000. Shall the town authorize 50,000 from the general fund fiscal year 21 undesignated surplus to be applied to the municipal office fund for the construction of the town office? Jim is correct. There was a meeting and you had the discussion and it was not 100. You decided to take 50 from ARPA and then to leave 50 in the fund.
Correct.
Would you mind reading Article 9 also, because that would change Article 9.
Right. That's 100.
Shall voters appropriate $1,300,913 for the general expenses of the town, of which $733,581.37 is to be raised by taxes, and $167,483.63 from prior year undesignated surplus funds.
Thank you. So the two changes from the published amounts in this document are the ones that have just been read to you,
Number 5 and number 9.
which would be in Article 5 and Article 9. We had a question over here.
David Fowle, Pudding Stone Road. I'm just really confused. Jim pointed out some number discrepancies that I don't fully understand. But to be clear, what we're voting on tomorrow is what's written on the ballot. And changing numbers here is not an option. That's what we're voting on. So if those are not the right numbers,
Yes, they are.
except for Article 5 is not.
The numbers on the ballot, sir, are correct.
On the ballot.
On the ballot, the numbers in this
document.
in this document are incorrect.
I hope we got the right numbers.
Does anybody have any further questions on that? There was a misstatement in this booklet. It is, the correct numbers were read to you on Article 5 and Article 9. If there are no other questions, Jim, go ahead.
I just didn't want my second question of the monies coming from the designated fund of $102,000. What was the reason for that going into the budget? The budget is going up 16%. To me, that's a hefty amount. In the past 2 years, we've had $200,000, close to $200,000 in surplus, which half of it is going towards the town office each year. This year, last year was $90,000. This year we have $50,000 going in. So if we have a surplus of $200,000 for the past 2 years, and we're increasing the budget for $167,000 over last year, I'm just confused on where's all this money earmarked for. But my main question is, again, using designated funds, which are for the municipal fund building. I also heard that it was going to be the woodland that's going to be transferred over there. That's included in the $102,000, except that can't happen unless the voters approve an article that's happening. So we're coming to the point of, if that money can't be moved over, but that's included in the 102, do we have a budget that's not balanced? All right? Normally, similar to the road budget, you've got money coming in from the culvert designated fund to offset a $250,000 project, which is labeled culverts in the budget. That's an easy, simple question. But now you have undesignated funds coming from the designated fund, or you have designated funds coming in, but they're not washing any designated expenses. So for some reason, and I can't explain it, and there's nowhere in the report that explains why are we pulling that money in, and why was it used to decrease taxes, and then why the budget's going up 16%. Thanks.
Would anybody like to respond to that?
I didn't really response.
Some of those designated funds, the reason why there's a surplus there is because our people are doing grants, and when we get grants approved, that money that we already budgeted is now excess, and it can't come out from that line item until the town votes for it. That's where a lot of that type of stuff comes from. A lot of this, initially, the ARPA money, there was a lot more critique for it. It wasn't a carte blanche like it sounds like it is now. There's still some stipulations and stuff they have. We're learning them all the time. So initially, we weren't allowed to use it for the town hall. There are different things that we weren't allowed to use it for, and that's why we were putting money. You get a certain amount of money one year, you get a certain amount of money another year. I'm not going to throw numbers out there because I don't have the sheet in front of me to take and be exact. And that is why Jim was correct that I said we should take in, at least keep 50,000 there, because we could only take so much from that because of where we were setting that money aside for sewer project to take and upgrade a pump station, for instance, for that first piece, because that was initially something that we could utilize it for. So, the ARPA money. So now that we're finding out we can utilize it more for various projects, we will be doing so as we learn and be able to do that.
Thank you. We have some questions I see there. The gentleman back here had his hand up, right ahead of you. The lady's been, did you have your hand up?
Jenny?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I thought it was.
Municipal infrastructure has always been ARPA eligible. That's not new. They have lessened some of the criteria for ARPA, but municipal infrastructure, which is the town office, has always been ARPA eligible. I just want to clarify that.
Are there any other?
No. Because we had a bond on it, we couldn't.
Under the old rules, the town hall was not eligible under ARPA because it was already in progress project that had already gone back.
If you're going to speak, would you mind going to the microphone?
But now it is, and that's moot, you know?
Are there any other issues? Once again, some of the issues here are difficult, and quick explanations are always fraught with error. But I would like to emphasize that the numbers that we'll be voting on tomorrow are accurate. How those numbers can be interpreted will have to be up for further discussion. But the numbers that are on the ballot are the numbers that we've been appraised of during this meeting. If there are any other discrepancies, I hope the board will point them out to me so we can point them out to the people here. Okay, we can move on then to Article 10. Shall the voters appropriate $1,422,485 for the maintenance and construction of highways of the town, of which $851,391 $1.04 is to be raised by taxes, and $1,087,793.94 from prior year's undesignated surplus funds. 11, shall the voters excuse me, yep, Jim.
So I'll surprise you all and just say, first of all, I'm voting for this budget because...
First state your name.
My name's Jim Kostas. First of all, I want to just thank Joel for doing an excellent job with the roads. His crew also... I'm sorry. First of all, I'd like to thank Joel for doing what he does to take care of the roads and all the road crew people. And what Jamie was talking about with grants basically has to do more with the road than with the general. But the bottom line comes that Joel does a great job going out there and getting grants. The budget is only, or your taxes for the road is going up only about 1.78%. Based on what he's doing on the roads and what the crew is doing, I think that's reasonable. As for the general, I still think there's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. 11, shall the voters appropriate $11,000 to Bennington Area Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice for providing health care to individuals residing in the town? 12, shall the voters appropriate... I'm sorry, yes.
Good evening, I'm Phil Holland. As I look at this article and the 20-some other articles that follow it, asking taxpayers to approve about $250,000 in discretionary spending, I looked in the town report for justification, past reports from all of these organizations, and other than the animal control officer's excellent report, an explanation of why we should have a better kennel, there was nothing. And I don't know how to make my decisions without the town report, the library. $30,000 goes to the library. Well, on what basis? Yes, I saw it in Front Porch Forum today, but that's not the place for it. The place is in the town report. And I am disappointed that, unlike many other towns, we don't have that kind of information on the basis of which to allocate $250,000. Doesn't seem right to me.
Thank you.
The library actually has one right over there.
Yes.
Right, look. If anybody is looking for information from the library, it's right over here on this table.
My name is Jamie Elwell. I'm with the Pownal Fire Protective Association. Just like to clarify that we did submit the same letter, explanation of where our money is spent, or where your money is spent with us, which did not make the town report. I don't know why, but we did submit that to the town for the town report.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other comments? Yes. Be sure to let me know what's on that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jeff Miller, with representing the Pownal Valley Fire Department. We also submitted a letter. It was not put into the town report. We're not exactly sure why. Pownal Rescue did the exact same thing, and theirs did not get published either. And we would like to know why, if anybody has an answer for that.
Would the select board like to answer that question?
We don't really know why. All we can say is we had...
We want to hear you, Angie.
We can't really say, we can't really say why. As you know, Tim left and Megan took over, and I think there was a hiccup with emails, so I don't think she received them. Is that correct, Megan?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, if you were submitted and it was still there, I did not receive it.
I think maybe if you're going to speak, please come on up so people can hear you. Thank you.
The librarian stated the same thing when she dropped off her letter, was that she emailed it to Tim and got a confirmation that he did receive it, but...
It's Megan Albert. Any town reports that were not included...
Do you want to stand up a little closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Any reports that were not included in the town report this year were because I did not receive them. I did go over it a bit with Tim. He had started on it. Any of the ones that he said that he had received were saved in a shared drive. So I did include all of those. But I had not received any others. I'm not quite sure if it's also because I've been working 2 positions, the executive assistant and administrative, and handling 2 phones as well as 2 email addresses. It's possible that they got lost in there, but I doubt it. If it was submitted during the time that Tim was there, it would have been saved.
Thank you. Any other yes.
I'm glad to hear that reports were submitted by some organizations. I would have wished to read them, of course. Doesn't the select board review the town report, its most official report to the taxpayers, before it is published? Because it doesn't appear that you've done due diligence in the presentation of the report that really goes to the heart of accountability of the select board to the town.
Any other comments? If you'd like to make a comment, please come forward. Would you mind coming up? I didn't hear you, and I don't think others did either.
I thought that was a question. Did I misunderstand?
No, I think, Bob Jarvis, that's certainly a fair question. I think it's a good idea that we put that into the process. I've been on the board for 4 years, and so far that's never happened. It's never gone back to the board where the board has reviewed the town report and has gone through to do that prior to it being published. I agree that it should, and I think that's something we need to build into our process and have an explicit meeting year over year. Just so everybody knows, no one was singled out. No one was singled out. We did receive, the town received those letters, and none of them got published. So that's a miss. I don't know if we can get something on the website quickly to make public records of all of those letters. And then maybe you can look at it tomorrow before you vote, but that's about what we can do. I do know that not all towns publish those. Most do, not all do.
Yes, come on up and introduce yourself.
Amelia Silver from Roizen Road. I just find this so bizarre and so baffling that our town has a report that our moderator and our select board and people are discussing as we're here in our town meeting and realizing that articles listed in the report are incorrect and aren't what's on the ballot. It's almost as if we're in some sort of National Lampoon skit. It is embarrassing. It is shocking. This is town government. This is our town, and this is our government, and nothing matters more than us being able to make decisions about what we're voting for, what we're paying for. I mean, this town is filled with people who really care about our town. We have great people doing the roads. We have great people doing the library. We have all these wonderful things here, and we're just confused. At the very least, I think that the select board needs to stay up late tonight and print something that is handed out to people when they go vote tomorrow saying, what you read in the town report is incorrect, and this is what it's supposed to say, and that's what you're going to see on your ballot. You need to do some sort of corrective action, or otherwise this whole election feels like a sham. And back to, why did this happen? I don't know why it happened, and I don't blame any individual. I do blame the people who are responsible. and that's our elected officials. In the past, I mean, and all you need to do is look at reports from the town in the past. And if you look at those, you'll see a pretty well-organized town report. This is what it says. If the visiting nurses are asking for $11,000, there's got to be a letter. Every single article needs to have a supporting thing. And if the young person who was responsible for assembling this report wasn't given that instruction, that's not her fault. Some years ago, I wrote a letter. For a number of years, I wrote letters to Pownal asking for support for the agency that I worked in. And one year, I got the town report in the mail, which I didn't get this year. Did not get one. But I received it in the mail, and I saw that my report wasn't there. And what did I do? I called up the treasurer, and I said, my report's not there. How will people know to support my agency? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And when I came into the town meeting, he had made a huge poster with my letter and had it posted right up there, you know, by the door, so that anybody who came to this meeting could read the request for funding for that agency, because it had been left out of the town report by accident. This is just, I mean, I think we're in a crisis, a crossroads here that is, there needs to be some serious accounting for failure to do something so very important. I am so very upset. Thank you for that.
Anybody else? We can move on then. Article 12. Shall the voters appropriate $500 to Bennington County Conservation District? 13. Shall the voters appropriate $500 to Bennington County Association Against Child Abuse, a nonprofit agency? Number 14. Shall the voters appropriate $2,000 to Bennington Free Clinic? Who wants to speak to that? 15. Shall the voters appropriate $2,000 to Bennington Project Independence for comprehensive impersonal adult day services to Pownal residents? 16. Shall the voters appropriate $1,800 to BROC Community Action of Southwestern Vermont for crisis fuel and food self-assistance? 17. Shall the voters appropriate $600 to Green Mountain Retirement Senior Volunteer Program and Volunteer Program for the support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 18. Shall the voters appropriate $200 Vermont Green Up for the support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 19. Shall the voters appropriate $600 to Oak Hill Children's Center?
6,000.
6,000, I'm sorry, 6,000. Anybody like to speak to that? Very good organization. 20. Shall the voters appropriate $60,000 to the Pownal Fire Protection Association for operations, insurance, and maintenance? Yes, go ahead, sorry. You have to point them out to me. I can't see out there with my glasses on.
Yeah, I'll take off my glasses.
Thanks, Jamie.
So, Jamie Elwell, Pownal Fire Protective Association. I'd like to read a copy of the letter that was submitted to the town. It says, Pownal Fire Protective Association would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone in their continued support throughout this year. Due to the safety improvements of motor vehicles for the fire department recently upgraded to new jaws of life, members have been doing numerous trainings on the new jaws and the new makes and models of vehicles. The department is currently working with different items through grant submissions. The department responds to approximately 100 calls a year. The calls are fires, brush fires, motor vehicle accidents, smoke alarms, CO calls, and other agencies assist with mutual aid with surrounding towns. As you know, our department consists of all volunteers. The department is always accepting applications for volunteer members and meet at the department on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. if you are interested. again, thank you for your continued support. Respectfully, Pownal Fire Protective Association membership.
Jamie, can you email me that later?
Joel.
Joel Burrington. I'd just like to say about the fire departments, when we had the ice storms, trees down, them guys are right there with us working, cutting. I want to thank them, and we all get along well together.
Thank you, Joel. Let's see. Article 20, shall the voters appropriate $60,000? Did we do that one?
We're on 21.
We're on 21, all right. Shall the voters appropriate $50,000 to the Pownal Rescue Squad, Inc. for operations, insurance, and maintenance?
Hello, my name is Michael Carroll. I'm a paramedic with Pownal Rescue Squad, and I'm also a vice president. We also submitted a write-up to the town that didn't make it in the report. We'd like to thank everybody for their continued support for the rescue squad. In the last year, we responded to almost 1,200 calls for service, which was a 40% increase from 2020. In 2021, we upgraded to a paramedic level service, which allows us to provide a higher level of care here for our community. And over the last 3 years, we've been able to provide 24/7 coverage to our town. Although our numbers for calls have increased, insurance reimbursements have not. So we bill, for example, $1,200, we might get $200 or $300 from the insurance company. So you go to the store, they ask $3 for a gallon of milk, you give them 50 cents, you know, that doesn't work out. So insurance companies continue to decrease their rate of return while general costs for medical supplies, fuel, vehicle maintenance, and other costs continue to rise. On top of low returns and increasing costs this year, the insurance company and the town of Pownal dropped our workman's comp insurance, which is an estimated $18,000 a year, which we would have to make up for. So that's also another ballot article way at the end you'll see for $16,000, just to make up for what we haven't had to pay for before, and now we do. So we ask for your continued support on these 2 ballot articles, and we thank you for your support as a town.
Thank you. 22. Article 22. Shall the voters appropriate $52,000 to Pownal Valley Fire Department for operation and maintenance? 23. Shall the voters appropriate 19? Did I have a hand up there? I'm sorry. Yep. Is there a hand up? No, I don't see it. Sorry.
Tim, can I request that anyone that sent letters to send them directly to me so I can make sure they get on the website, please? I'll do that tonight.
Okay, thank you. Shall the voters appropriate $19,500 to Pownal Valley Fire Department for the fire truck and equipment fund? 24. Shall the voters appropriate $20,000 to Pownal Valley Fire Department for the building fund? Yes, sorry.
Jeff Miller again, I'm the Assistant Chief with the Pownal Valley Fire Department. Also have a copy of the letter that we sent to the town for the report that wasn't published for some reason. But members of the Pownal Valley Fire Department continue to acknowledge and greatly appreciate the support of all of you, the voters of Pownal. Funds received are used for department operation, maintenance of equipment, apparatus, as well as upkeep of our 3 buildings, and to buy the appropriate turnout gear to keep our members safe. We are also grateful to 5 new members that are currently enrolled in a 6-month Firefighter 1 program in Manchester, Vermont. We are extremely fortunate to have these new members. While we do our best to drill and train, we also continue to provide quality fire prevention program here at the elementary school and for our preschools. Please continue to support our new building fund that will eventually be used to replace our center station. Last summer, we did a cash calendar to benefit this building fund as well. Our dedicated membership with some help of a handful of local businesses, were able to raise just shy of $6,000 to put forth towards that fund as well. We plan to do another similar fundraiser this year, as well as a few other ideas to try to help out with that fund as well. To stay up to date on what we are doing, we have a Facebook page that you can follow. It's the Pownal Valley Fire Department. We try to stay up to date with all of our calls, all of our special events, including the cash calendar that we did last year, and also this is the second year that we did we took Santa around town in a fire truck and played some Christmas music, and the kids and the adults that were around really seemed to enjoy it, and we plan to continue doing that for the foreseeable future. Again, applications for volunteer membership are now being accepted. Our meetings are 7 o'clock Monday night at either one of our 3 respective stations, which are Center, North, and East Pownal. Again, we thank you for the continued support and look forward to serving the town of Pownal by providing the absolute best fire and emergency services we can, and look forward to our continued relationship with Pownal Fire and Pownal Rescue. Thank you.
Thank you. 25, shall the voters appropriate $3,000 to Pownal Youth Baseball for the support of the baseball and soccer programs?
I'm Colby Harwick, president of Pownal Youth Baseball. Don't have the letter with me, but can probably run down through it. We thank everyone for your continued support. The funds that we get through the town keeps our sports for our kids in our town free. We run a shoestring budget, and we actually just started up soccer program, which went off unbelievably well. We had a record number of kids that we didn't think we would have. So we'll be continuing that. Just if anybody wants to come down and volunteer down at the ball field, we're down there most days in summer. And don't forget, stop in, watch the ball game. Thank you. Sign-ups are available until March 30th.
Article 26, shall the voters appropriate $500 to Project Against Violent Encounters for the support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 27, shall the voters appropriate $15,000 to the Solomon Wright Library for operations and maintenance? 26, shall the voters appropriate $15,000 to the Solomon Wright Library for the support of a director? Those people who have difficulty with Wi-Fi receptions, I know there are a lot of people that take advantage of the opportunities presented to them to have a good Wi-Fi service at that library. Quite often you'll go there in the afternoon or evening and you'll find quite a few cars sitting there doing their hi-fi work, whatever. 29, shall the voters appropriate $1,200 to Southwestern Vermont Area Council on Aging for support of services rendered to the residents of the town? 30, shall the voters appropriate $5,000 to Sunrise Family Resource Center, a nonprofit agency, the support of services rendered to the town? Yes. Yes, do. I missed you, sorry. She got you.
Hi, my name is Linda Bowe, and I'm on the board of Sunrise Family Resource Center, and I'm here to speak on Article 30 and ask that you vote yes. Out of the 1,200 families countywide, Sunrise serves approximately, or has served approximately 120 Pownal families last year. These families had access to home visits, addressing such needs as housing, mental health and stress, and parenting. We offer 154 parent education and support groups, 67 play groups, Pownal play group at the Solomon Wright Library on Monday mornings. And we also have a Welcome Babies program where we work with the hospital, and that's, an average of 40 per month, where we give out resources and small gift items for newborns. We recently opened a pantry in June of last year, and it's been accessed 192 times, and by Pownal families as well. So Sunrise is active in the community, and we serve the needs of Pownal residents as requested. We thank you for your continued support, and our letter is submitted and it's there, but it has a lot of the same details that I just provided here. So please vote yes for Sunrise, and thank you.
Thank you. Article 31, shall the voters appropriate $2,500 to the Tutorial Center for the support of adult education and literacy to the residents of the town? Oops. I thought he was coming up to speak. 32, shall the voters appropriate $440 to Vermont Center of Independent Living for the support of people with disabilities in the town? 33, shall the voters appropriate $2,000 to Pownal Valley Swinging Seniors for services provided to the residents of the town? 34, shall the voters of the town of Pownal vote to appropriate $38,000 for a town kennel to provide the animal control officer with an adequate structure to house unclaimed and/or stray animals? Anybody like to speak to that? 35, shall the voters of the town of Pownal vote to dissolve the Woodlot Timber Fund and transfer the balance of $20,326 to the capital fund for the future needs of the town?
Hi, Jim Kosis. I just wanted to know what was the original intent of that monies before we try to transfer it to the capital fund. Was it designated for something else? And if it wasn't, then I'm for moving it. But I'd just like to make that clear before we make a decision. Thank you.
Anybody speak to that? Anybody? Select board? Go ahead,
I don't know. I don't know, and I thought it was
I can speak to that. Mike Gardner, Vice Chair of Select Board. The way it was explained to us, Jim, is that years ago on an initial timber sale, that the residents and taxpayers of the town voted to take that money, put it into a reserve with the interest of that money to be used to lower taxes. Well, we all know what interest rates are, that it earns us nothing. So we have to have a vote from the taxpayers and residents of the town to take that money out of that out of that reserve fund and put it into the capital fund. We felt the capital fund was the best place to put it to be able to use it. Right now, and I don't know what it earned us last year, it was basically nothing on a $20,000 fund. And that just came, last year's budget, I was not aware of that. As far as I know, it just came this year, that it kind of popped up there, that money. Okay? Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Article 36, shall the voters appropriate $16,000 to the Pownal Rescue Squad, Inc. for the workers' compensation insurance? We've had an explanation of that earlier. We thank you very much. Are there any other issues or concerns that should be brought before this meeting before it adjourns? Yes?
Phil Holland again. I want to ask about delinquent taxes. I see $439,000 that is owed to the town of Pownal. There's no report from the delinquent tax collector, and I'd like to know what's going on. That's quite a sizable sum not to have coming in.
Thank you. Is that individual here?
No.
I don't. As I've been informed, the person that is responsible for those duties is not present at the time at this meeting. Am I right or wrong?
Correct.
You're correct.
Is there any member of the select board who'd like to speak to that?
We can reach out to her and ask her if they can write something up and we can post it on the website.
You want to speak a little bit louder so people can hear you?
We can reach out to Ellen and ask her to write something up to answer that question and have it posted on the website so people can take and read it.
It might also be good to include maybe a comparison with previous years so you can get a feel for, is this an anomaly year or is it about the same as it's been? Is it increase or whatever?
I also want to be clear, Mr. Holland, is that correct? Because you asked the question. The delinquent tax collector is an elected official, as the treasurer and other elected officials. We as the select board have no control over that position. So we can ask the delinquent tax collector to give us a detailed report for, you know, the taxpayers and residents. We can't force her.
It may be worthwhile for the select board to consider asking those individuals the responsibility to the town to be at the town meeting so that they can answer questions rather than having to seek them out to do it another way.
And once again, we can ask that, but we can't force it. And that was one of the reasons we had a couple of things and have them on the ballot last year, which is totally irrelevant. I do want to speak to a couple of things, if I can have a couple of minutes. Mike Gardner, Vice Chair. I want to speak about the town report, and I want to apologize to everyone who did submit a report that it didn't get put in here. I do believe that there is absolutely, I know, it's not do believe, I know there was absolutely no malice intended by anybody. I think in the transition from Tim, who had started this report, and then to Megan, I think those reports got lost in transition someplace, and I'm not totally sure where, but that's something that we can work on. I think Megan, with this report that was kind of put into her lap, I think she did a really good job. I think as far as what the auditors have done in the past, last year's town report was put together by one former auditor. I've been in town for 58 years in June. I'm 57 now, so I've lived here my whole life. I've been to probably, out of those, since I was 16 years old, I've been coming here. I think one of the most important things that we have in this town report, minus the 2 ballot articles that are wrong, I've sat through, I can't tell you how many town meetings and heard multiple mistakes throughout the town, throughout the budget process, throughout all of the financials. Hours I've sat here. And I think, Jim Costas, I think you can attest to that we've sat here for a long time on other previous town reports for mistakes that were made in the town report itself. I didn't hear that tonight. I think that's a tremendously important thing that what you have in front of you as far as numbers go, when you get in, and I know the font is small, but when you get into those numbers, the accuracy is in those numbers. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that we can have, is that you do have a really accurate town report for the fiscal year ending. You have a very accurate report that you can look at.
A little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, just to add to that a little bit, What we're talking about is the really small font, very hard to read, and I have to agree, that's very hard to read. But one of the things about this is, these are direct screenshots taken out of Nemrick. So these numbers were not transferred like they've been in previous years, which was the source of some of the errors in previous years. These were taken right off of our accounting system, and that's why they're accurate this year. So that was definitely a step forward. Definitely there was a step backwards on not putting the letters in the town report. I think we've got a couple of the other things wrong.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, you're correct. The years, you're correct also.
The year, so just to clarify that, on the front page where it says annual report, year ending June 30th, 2022, we don't even have to have that on there. Okay, we went to VLCT, we asked that question because it was brought up that we had the wrong year. We have an email from VLCT last Thursday, right, Megan? Thursday or maybe Friday. We went to them and asked them, we do not have to have the year on there. That's not a requirement to have on there. So, you know, and that's just a typo. That's, you know.
But certainly if it's on there, it should be accurate.
That's true.
It should be accurate.
If it's on there, it needs to be accurate. That's definitely a true statement.
Are there any other issues? Excuse me, yes, didn't see you coming up.
David Fowle, Pownal Road. I'd like to suggest or request that in future town meetings, it would be really nice to have each person running for a select board position to speak briefly on what they intend to do as a new member of the select board. Half of them aren't even here tonight, and I just don't understand that.
One of the issues at town meetings is it is not to be a political meeting. In other words, it is discouraged. Okay. It's frowned upon to have political statements made. Are there any other issues that would like to be brought up before we ask for adjournment?
I just, too, want to apologize for this report. The select board, obviously, we did drop the ball in not assisting Megan in that transition form. And I don't know why those two, because Jim was correct, we went over all those items again, and why it didn't get transposed for the ballot article here. I'm not going to make an excuse, I don't have an answer. And the librarian, like I said earlier, stated the same thing. She got a notification that her email was read when it was sent to Tim. Where that got lost, I don't know. And
thank you.
I'm not going to make an excuse. We're going to take and do our best to take and not have this happen again. And overall, I agree with Mike as far as the numbers go. The lines and columns didn't get all jumbled up.
In fairness, this came about as we were personnel turnover.
I'm human. I'll own it.
Thank you. Well, just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute. Julie has asked me to make an announcement that the polls will open at when, Julie?
10.
At 10, not 7.
Today's paper says 7, but
Today's paper, I guess, said 7, but the polls will open at 10 at the firehouse. So now I'll accept the motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you very much. Whew.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.